Hello, this is Jim for the Monopoly Project, and it's September 2021. We're here to do some floating book reviews. We're on Val Vista Lakes. It's early September. It's still hot, over 100 degrees, but we're on the here on the Monopoly Project yacht. Every successful real estate investor has a yacht, and unfortunately it's a Bikini Girls Day off, so you just have me, and I'm going right into the sunset. That's why I'm doing a little squinting and such. It's still very bright, still hot. Today we're here to do 3 book reviews. So we're reviewing a book on Roman history called Empire, and then 2 books on assisted living. So let me start with the book on Roman history, Empire. It's Steven Saylor's book. You can see right here, and it's actually part of a 3-book series. We did the last book, Dominus, last month, and I think Dominus was written in 2021. This book, Empire, was written in 2010. It's paperback, 589 pages, and this is a part of a 3-book series. It starts with Roma, it goes to Empire, and then it goes to Dominus. And of course I'm reading it in reverse order. I had picked up the Dominus book because it had just been published, and I really liked Steve Saylor's works, his Sub Rosa work on a fictional Roman detective I really enjoyed. And basically he's writing historical fiction where he puts in a made-up character who participates basically in all the events and relates them so that you get the story. And of course everybody magically appears at the right place in the right time. But I really like it. So Dominus was the history of Rome from like 140 AD to the end of Constantine around 350, 370. This book starts with Augustus in 14 AD and goes through that 140, so he's bridging the gap. And again, so here he fictionalizes history while remaining true to the story, and there's some really interesting stories in there. And if you look up, if you do a search on the history, they're actually true, and he's pretty close. He's always right on with historical sources. The only thing that he changes, of course, is he introduces a character that that wasn't at that event, because it's his fictional creation, and it's basically the story of 2 families that go back to the very beginning of the founding of Rome, the Potitis and the Pineris. And so, anyway, so like I said, I really enjoyed this book. I heartily recommend it if you're interested in, Roman history, or, and especially fictionalizations of it. There's a lot of that been done. This one I particularly like. After I read it, I realized I had read it before, but I still enjoyed it. So, because especially the first chapter, he's relaying the story of Augustus Caesar and his, I think, great nephew Claudius, who eventually becomes ruler of Rome after Nero and some other bad guys. But in any case, in this case, Augustus makes Claudius into an augur, which means somebody who predicts the future using various techniques, including in the story looking at lightning and birds. That was because the famous story about the founding of Rome about Romulus is the 2 brothers, Romulus and Remus, had a contest to see who could see the most birds, and each stood on the hill that they favored, and Remus saw 6 birds and he thought he'd won, and his brother saw 12 vultures and claimed he won. And of course Remus accused them of cheating, and eventually they end up being at odds, and eventually Romulus kills Remus. That's probably mostly myth as opposed to history, but it's the commonly understood myth. So anyway, in this story, the fictional character that Steve makes up is being inaugurated as an augur along with Claudius, and of course the fictional character picks lightning, and he sees lightning. He draws this thing in the sky, and of course there's lightning, and so he passes the test, and then Claudius says he's going to look for birds, and of course everybody's sort of surprised because birds are unpredictable. But he looks up, and eventually six vultures fly by, which everybody counts as a very, very good sign, because Remus saw 6, but Romulus saw 12, and Augustus, when he was initiated an augur, also saw 12. And so they both pass, and then, in the afterwards, Claudius and the guy are talking, and the guy says, well, I'm surprised you picked birds, that's so hard to do. And of course he says, well, I think my great-grandniece or uncle, whatever he is, made sure that the birds appeared because he paid somebody to release the birds at the right time at the right place. And so it sort of reminds me of the story about John Kennedy's father in Kennedy's first election. He asked John, well, how many votes do I need to buy? And he said, I don't want to pay for a landslide. So anyway, so that's interesting. There is this subtext in the entire series of the history of Christianity that flows through this, and in the second set of stories in this particular book, it talks about twin brothers of the fictional family who one becomes a Christian, and the other, of course, is a a leader of Rome, and eventually doesn't have anything to do with his brother, and eventually they in Nero's when Nero's fire happens, he blames the Christians and burns them, and he burns his brother, and for a while they actually confuse the one twin with the other as sort of a joke by Nero. And so anyway, so like I said, if you're really interested in the history of Rome and fictionalizations of it, this is really good. The guy writes super well. It's very interesting. It's a page turner. And so next I'm going to read Roma, which is the first book in the series, which starts at the very beginning of Rome, before Romulus and Remus, way before Romulus and Remus. And so I've read the first two, but like I said, they're worth reading again. So anyway, so that's the book, Steven Saylor's Empire, highly recommended.